Good morning, everybody. It's Gaye DeRusso with the Majestic Rider, and I'm on Disco, and today we're going to take Disco out on the trail. So this is the first time he's been out on trail, well, since he's been here, so we'll see how he does. The owner said that when you stop, he gets antsy, and if he's standing towards home, he can get a little bit even antsier. So first we're just trying to do the lateral flexion out here, and you'll see he's not as calm as he is in the arena. That's normal. You just keep it up. It's okay if they keep spinning. You just keep waiting. And this is usually what happens. I get them outside the arena and things change. They're not as calm. They're not as willing. But the only way to make it better is to do it. So let's go. Disco. So we're going alone. I don't know if he's been ridden alone much. I think he probably has, but it doesn't matter. We'll see how it goes. So we're just going to get his head down to start. And I might have to be on his case a little bit more because going out on trail always brings up some excitement. And so when we get out here, I already ran him around, but he had 2 days off. So I want to use his energy up. I don't want him to save his energy for the way home. So when I get out here, if he's not too goofy or spooky, I'm going to start moving. And that doesn't mean running. I'm just going to flat walk and do a saddle gait. And just see how he goes. So you're always trying to, when you leave, once you get over the bad footing like this stuff, you want to leave with some energy so you come back with less energy. Otherwise, if you go out really slow and your horse is not being worked much, once you turn towards home, all that energy will usually come up. And they act like slugs going out, so you've really got to be on their case to get them going and not feel bad. And, if your horse won't go out and you feel bad getting after his case, well, just turn around and start walking back towards the barn. If he speeds up, well, nothing's wrong with him. He's perfectly fine. He's just got your number. Okay. So this is just his flat walk. Now our trails are different than everybody else's because this is farmland and a lot of the horses haven't been in farmland. And it's mostly terrain and things kind of jumping out of the bushes. And each time the horse goes somewhere different, say they're used to very active trails and I take them on trails in the woods that we don't see anybody, and then all of a sudden something jumps out. Well, they can get spooky because when they're seeing stuff all the time, they just kind of get desensitized to it. And when they don't see stuff and all of a sudden something jumps out, they think they got to be more aware because something's going to kill them. I am having to push him to leave, but nothing bad. And it's good when you have a hill that goes up when you leave. Let's see if we make it under this. Well, I have to break that off when we come back. But if you have a hill that goes down, the horse is not warmed up, but that's hard on its joints. So sometimes they'll have issues going down a hill, but not usually up. Up, they just want to go slow, but they usually don't have problems doing it. So we just got these dirt piles we got to step over. He already stepped over a couple, and he didn't care at all. So even things like this, you're like, it's a pile of dirt, what's the big deal? Why would they look at it? Well, for a young horse or a horse that's never seen that before, that could be a little disturbing. Like there's a monster underneath all that dirt, so I don't want to step on it. Now I'm afraid to go over it. It might get me. It just takes time. If really bad, you just go get off and walk them over it. Now, right about now, most of them are tired from going up that hill, but that's how they trick you. They're like, give me a break, and then they get out here and they're goofy, so we want to keep going. And you'll hear me smashing into bushes, going under bushes and things like that. And again, some horses, if they've been ridden on open areas, they're not used to that, and that will spook them. Doesn't mean it's a bad horse or anything, they're just not used to it. So you got to get them used to going under trees and stuff. That's so good. Okay, so now we're out in the open, so I can even go a little faster. And you're going to see I'm riding with contact because this is his first time out, so I don't know how he's going to be. And I want to help him to gait. So this is his saddle gait. Lots of them look at these feathery plants because they have a lot of motion in them. And they make weird noises. So he's being very smooth. Now it goes downhill a little bit. He's trotty, so let's see if he can do it. Now he can, there's just more wiggle in the saddle. But not bad. Bush got him. So as you're riding your gaited horse down the trail, there will be spots of the trail that your horse gaits pretty nice, and there will be spots you're like, this is not the most comfortable thing. And it's usually the terrain that it's either deeper or flatter or going up or downhill. And that'll tell you a lot about your horse. So kind of pay attention. And you'll be like, every time he goes downhill, it gets really rough. Well, he's probably pacing. Every time he goes uphill, he tries to canter, or he slows way down. He's probably on the trotty side. It's difficult for him to stay in gait. Somebody probably let him canter up all the hills. So it shows you like what you need to work on. And it'll show you that if it's getting more uncomfortable, that means you should slow down and maybe do a little exercise that'll help separate its legs a little bit. So here it's nice deep footing. He's got a little bounce in his step. He's not pacing though. That just kind of put him more on the trotty side. Now we're going to try and go back up to a saddle gait. Now I try to build them up so when we go up hills, in the beginning, I like to try to gait them up the hill and see if they can hold it, because it'll build their strength. But some horses I gotta slow way down and they can't do it, and then I just walk up the hill. Then if they get really tired and they can canter, I will let them canter. I'm not out here to torture them, just to teach them. So I do let them do both, but in the beginning when they have energy, that's when I'm asking them to gait up the hills, because I know they have the energy to do it. So far he's doing good. He's staying in his gait. There I loosened up for a second. You saw his head came right up. So going up these hills, I like them keep their head down and really drive with their back end. So we slowed down. I'm keeping his head down. I can feel him really pushing me up the hill, because that's what's going to get their strength. Okay. If I let them put their head up, then they tend to really just swing those legs. He's not paying attention, so we're crooked. They swing their legs and then they're not using their muscles as much. So since he's being good, I'm going to talk about a little bit about how the horses move. So when you're gaiting, they usually do two things. One, they pick their legs up and they put their legs down, okay? And they do it individually. And that's usually a 4-beat gait. And then there's some horses that are more on the pacey side, or they're on the lazy side, or both, and they tend to just swing their legs. Those horses usually don't bend their knees as much. They don't lift their feet as high, because again, they're swinging. It's like you swinging your arm versus bending your arm and putting your arm over something, or you could just swing it over the top. Right? So think when you're putting your saddle on your horse and it's heavy and your horse is tall, you swing it. You kind of have your arms a little straight and you get ready, and then you swing it up over the top of the horse, versus you bend your elbows, you pick it up and you put it down, which is much harder. So it's the same for the horse. So the pacey horses, the horses that know they can do that, swing because it's much easier for them. But by swinging, they're not they're not bending those knees as much, and so they're not getting the feet as high off the ground as the ones that just pick up and place their feet down. So if you can teach them not to pace anymore, get them to gait, and teach them how to use those feet by doing poles in the arena and all the exercises I keep talking about, your horse is going to get more sure-footed over time. And so we're trying to do things to help them, because we know the ones that drag their feet and lazy can be a little bit more trippy, because they're, you know, it's just like a person shuffling their feet. They're going to catch their feet on the curbs and stuff. It's just normal. So if you're like, I don't mind the pace, it's not that bad, well, just know that's the reason it can make them trippier. And so by working with their gait and trying to make them better, you'll have a safer ride. All right, so now we're going uphill. He's flat walking. And we kind of saddle gated up the other hill, so let's see if we can go slower up this one and just stay at our flat walk. But we're going to do the same thing. We don't want his head any higher than it is right now, because I don't want him to start swinging the legs. I don't want him to pick each hoof up and put each hoof down separately. And just keep this rhythm going up the hill. Now, some of you don't have hills, and hills are great, because they really build up your horse's hindquarters, and they really help with the pacey horses. So if you don't have hills, but you have rocks, you could go off the trail when you're, you know, riding, and just have them walk over rocks and logs. You just want anything that makes them pick up their feet and kind of push with their hindquarter. You can even just walk, stop, back up, and, you know, do that 20 times when you're out on the trail ride, and just that backing up will help to increase their power and their push off in time. We're just still at our flat walk. He's still doing fine, but of course we're heading away from the barn. And sometimes I get a, you know, horse, you go out here and you're like, oh, this is great. You turn towards home and it turns to hell. So, because that's where they get food and that's when they get rest. And so they're very excited, like, you know, kids getting out of school, like, yay, throw your books up, run home. That's what they want to do. So it's a normal thing. Lots of horses get barn and buddy sour because that's where they get the relief. And it's up to us to make them not want to go home so fast. Okay, you can watch the barn sour videos, but you just give them work on the way home, and when you get home, you give them work. Or you tie them up away from their friends, so you're making it actually more miserable. Okay, so here we got another hill. It's not that hard. I'm going to pick up some speed and see if we can now do a saddle gate up this. So kind of alternate. I did saddle gate one hill, and then I did the flat walk. Now I'm trying to do a saddle gate again. Now if they're having problems going up the hill, I will lean a little forward. If they're trying to trot up the hill, then I actually sit back more, because it makes it harder for them to trot up it. But if they're a pacer, then leaning forward can help a little bit. Remember, all these things I tell you about the pace and the trot, they're all little hints on what you can do, but each horse is different. So, you know, sometimes it works for one horse and it doesn't work for another. So you're trying different things to see what will work for your horse. Other things I'm doing as we're walking out here is just trying to hold him straight, because his right hindquarter kind of goes out. I talked about that before. He's just a little weaker on the right, which is normal. A lot of horses are. So you just saw him trip, but he's athletic. He caught himself really fast. And, you know, he might be a little lazy in the arena, but he's not a totally lazy horse. So he was quick, and that would just ended up being a little stumble, and that was it. But you're trying to see what works for my horse. She told me this might work, so you try it. You give it a couple of weeks. Don't give up too soon, you know, not just one try. You gotta give it a couple weeks or a month, and you're like, well, that didn't work. What else does she have in her box of tools that I can try to help my horse with? So these are the water tanks. A lot of horses look at them. He's not seeming to care at all. Okay, so we're gonna stop. Good boy. Now what's he want to do? He's turning himself around towards home. And he's like, let's go home. And I'm like, okay, you want to go home? I don't want to go home. He's like, what the hell's wrong with this rider? So I'm going to go up a little further. Now I see he wanted to take me home. So I'm going to find a place up here where it's a little flat. And we're going to try it again. So if you have a big open space and you know your horse wants to drag you home, or it's barn sour, besides practicing at home, when you get home, this is a good place to get them over the turning. Because when you go out and back the same way, a lot of times you turn around, that horse is excited, it'll leap up in the air, So it'll rear, it'll buck, it'll crow hop and do all sorts of stuff. You got to get it through it and show it, hey, that's not the answer, and bad stuff happens when you do that. Okay, so now I'm going to stop again. Oh, good boy. Now I'm going to stand here, and what I'm doing is letting him make a choice. Like, do you want to turn around? If you want to turn around, go ahead, and then I'm going to show you what happens. And each horse is different. Sometimes they turn around and, whoa, it's a disaster. Here he goes. He's like, I don't care about you, Gaye. Let's go home. So I'm like, really? Like, yeah, let's go home. Oh my God, are you drunk? Why can't you go home? Why aren't you going in a straight line, dude? What the hell's going on? You're just so crooked. What? I don't know how you get home. Now I'm going to turn around, and I'm just going to go straight. I'm making that easier. And I'm going to go up here and stop again and see if he wants to turn home. So this is a normal thing for him to want to go home, especially since I haven't taken him out on trail and he's been with me 3 weeks. So we're trying to help him make the right decision. Each horse is different. Some really are not that smart. I love when they do stuff like this. He's like, let me try turning around somewhere else. So I'm not steering him. I'm just kind of letting him go where he wants. Okay, now I'm going to stop him here. Good boy. And we're going to give him a little treat. Now, I'm not treating him for walking away. The walking away was not a good thing. But the fact, he sees those horses. The fact that he didn't turn towards home was a good thing. So I am going to walk a loop. I am going to turn. And when we start going towards home, if he starts going fast or dragging me or doing anything, well then I'm just going to give him jobs to do. And it might be a wretched ride. In other words, not so fun. And you're like, well, how come you didn't let him turn around up there, but you're turning here? Well, I have to go back, and then this was my decision. All those other times were his decision. So this was my decision to turn back towards home. Okay, so I'm going to serpentine for a bit. He's actually staying slow, so you might be like, why are you serpentining? Because I want him to know when I turn, it's not the most pleasant thing as soon as we turn. So don't start running or being a goofball, because when we turn, we start going to work. And you saw when I was coming out this direction, I wasn't serpentining or doing anything really hard except gating. So now I'm going to start to do all that arena work that I taught him out here. And it'll give me more control. It'll help him to pay attention more by me giving him things to do, so he has to think. Now we're going to do our leg yield with our left leg. And it'll make going this direction not as fun as going the other direction. So if your horse is smart, you might have to do this 2-3 times, maybe 5, and they'll get it. They'll be like, don't go fast on the way home. It's not fun. And when we got home, she rides us and she ties us up. So why do we want to go home? Let's stay out here and just hang out with her. So they figure it out, and it doesn't take that long. And the horses that are not so smart or have been rewarded thousands and thousands of times every time they got home by getting that saddle off, getting food, getting rest, no matter how bad they were going home, they got rewarded. They're going to take a lot more convincing. So you might have to, especially if that had gone on for years. Say you have a 15-year-old horse and he did that since he was 5 years old. That's 10 years that you're trying to fix. So it's going to take thousands and thousands of times, and probably not a month, probably many months to fix it. But if you work on it, it will get better. But you can't give up, and you have to put the time in, or have somebody put the time into them to fix it. If you just got a horse and, it was fine when you got it, and now it's starting to do some barn sour stuff, that won't take as long, but you got to get on its case right away. You don't want to wait until it's really bad and dragging you home. As soon as you turn and it starts throwing its head or walking a little faster, that's a sign you need to start fixing that right then, because then it's not as hard. But it is hard when they're rearing up, bucking, crow hopping, doing all those things. It's hard in it, and it's scary. Good job, buddy. Okay, so he's not going fast, and I did a lot of leg yield and serpentine, so now I'm just going to try and walk home. And he's on a loose rein. Now she said if we're facing home and we stop, he's bad. So what are we going to do? We're going to stop, And what do I want to do? I want to reward him for stopping, and I want to make stopping a good thing. Okay. No. So I'm going to try and give him a treat if he'll pay attention. Okay. So I want him to know if he stops and he waits a minute, well, guess what? He gets a little treat. So he's not being bad. He is a little antsy, but this isn't bad. Okay, now we're going to walk off. I can't make him stay there forever. I can make him stay until he starts losing his comfort there. And that's when I'm going to walk off. And then over time, I'm going to do it longer and more often. For now, I'm just going to stop, which you might have seen in my other videos when I'm teaching the horses this. I just stop, like I'm going to stop here, you're going down the hill, and I just stop for a second or two, that's all. So a lot of times they don't want to stop on the way home. Because why? Because nobody ever stops them on the way home. And then when you do need to stop because something's broken, you got to take a pee or something, they don't want to stop. Well, why would they? They never had to stop before. It's like telling your kids, hey, you got to put your clothes away. And they're like, why? I never did that before. I'm not doing that. So you have to have a reason why. You're like, well, guess what? If you don't put your clothes away, you're going to be living on the street. And see how you like that. I know the rules have changed, but that's the way it is. And Mama needs help. And so you're telling the same thing with the horse. Yep, I know you never had to stop before, but guess what? I got to pee a lot. I'm an old lady, and I'm going to need you to stop quite often and wait for me. So give them a reason. But he's doing really, really well, so let's stop again. Oh, so same way I stop him in the arena. Let's back up a couple of steps. That's good. So he didn't rear up. A lot of times that makes antsy horses rear up when you back up and you're trying to go home. So, but he's listening. He's like, I guess this is just like the arena. Although at least I don't make those thousands of circles with her out here. Now, if you have places to make circles, I do make circles. But here we have a lot of drop-offs. I don't like that, so I'm not going by them at all. All right. So now we got another hill. So I'm going to speed him up a little bit because I'm going to work his gait. I'm not going to go super fast. I'm going to keep his head down so I got pressure on him. I'm alternating my legs. He's staying very smooth. And coming out here, just so you know, he didn't trot at all. Right? So going out when we left for the trail, he didn't trot at all, but I kept contact so he knew not to trot. Okay? I don't want to ride him on a loose rein until he really understands what to do and he's not trying to break gait and go into a different gait. Okay? You got to show him what to do, not let him do the other stuff, and then they'll start doing it for you if they respect you and want to be nice to you. You got to give them reasons. Like, why would I be nice to Gaye? Because Gaye has treats. So some of you don't want to use treats. You don't have to, especially if the horse is mouthy. I like treats just because it's making going out on the trail a good thing. It's making stopping a good thing. And then over time, I just wean them away. But it helps get your horse focused. Just kind of like, you want somebody to do something, like put away your laundry, and you're like, no, I don't want to. I'll give you $50. You give me $50 for putting my laundry away. Done. So you go do it. Then you ask him again following, like, hey, will you put your laundry away? No. I'll give you $20. Last time you gave me 50. Yep, but I only got $20. So will you do it? Yeah, $20 is still good. I'll do it for $20. And you just keep doing it over and over until they forget and they just start putting their clothes away. And you're like, tricked you. You just got to motivate them. Horses are motivated by rest and food and peace. So out here, you know, a lot of horses don't like to be alone. So that's why they want to run home. Or maybe they don't like the friends they're with out there. Okay. So we're pushing. We're keeping his head down. Now, he went from his flat walk and he started to go in his saddle gait and he tried to throw that head up and I just caught it. All I did was put pressure on him. And again, we taught him that pressure means put your head down, so we don't have to do anything crazy. I'm not sliding the bit or anything. All I did was just make a fist. He felt the pressure and he gave to the bit. So doing all that arena stuff makes all of this so much easier. But if the horse doesn't know the cues, or you don't know the cues, then you don't have as much control. Like driving a car and you don't know how anything works inside of it, it becomes extremely difficult. When I'm teaching people, like say I'm teaching somebody's husband to ride, I know they're not going to practice and they're not going to do all the stuff. And I tell them, it's up to you to keep that horse trained. It's up to you to keep getting that horse out, so when your husband rides it, it's good for him and he has a good time, so he wants to do this with you because he really doesn't like horses and doesn't want to do it. And I tell the husband, I'm going to teach you about 10 things. That's all you need to know, because it'll get you out of any problem if you figure out how to use it. And all I do is teach him how to steer, how to stop, back up, turn on the haunches, turn on the forehand, side pass. There you go. I go, now you got control of the shoulders, the hindquarters, the body. You know how to slow it down, you know how to back it up, and the rest is just practicing it out there. So it's not a lot of things, but you do have to learn what the cues are and how to do it. So you hear me? I just clucked because I decided I wanted to go faster. Okay. So he does well going up and down the hills. He doesn't have any issues. He's going downhill. I can just let go of the reins right now because he's going slow and he's rocking back on his hocks. Okay, so he's good at that. And being a horse that's on the trotty side, they can usually do that a little bit easier for them. So you want to teach your pacey horse how to do that so he becomes more sure-footed. And some pacey horses know how to do it. They just rock right back. But many of them don't, and they're heavy on their front end, and they're going down the hill too fast, swinging their legs and catching their toes. So the other thing I talked about the other day, I wrote that article, was, heel pain can cause tripping, because if the horse is landing toe first, they catch their toe, okay? And their foot is supposed to roll. It's like you stubbing your toe. So when a horse is pacey and they swing that foot, and because they're swinging it, they don't always finish the arc. Like you pick your foot up and you roll it forward and you land heel, then toe. But with the pacey ones, they're swinging it, and they might be swinging it out to the side. And then when they go to put that foot down, the elevation of the terrain is different. It's higher. And so it catches them while they're in that mid-swing. And so their heel never went down. It just jammed into their toe. So that toe is the part that's, even though they're not heel sore or anything else, they're catching their toe because they're pacing and they're not lifting that foot up. So again, just working on that pace sometimes will fix all the tripping. So many different causes to tripping. You really got to be a detective. I'm going to talk about arthritis in the neck. So lots of gaited horses get arthritis in their neck. People ride them with their heads up too high all the time, and they kind of pinch those vertebrae down by usually C6, C7. So that's cervical. That's the C. And then 6 and 7 are the number of the vertebrae. So that's going towards the base of their neck and kind of towards their wither. That's where they get arthritis most of the time. Now, when they get arthritis, it can affect how they move. Just think if you had a pinched nerve in your neck, or you've ever had neck pain, you don't want to move your arms as much, you don't want to use your upper back as much, and you don't want to turn your neck. So if they have arthritis, you can do stretches, you can have a chiropractor work with them, but you just kind of want to be aware and not crank their head around too far, because that could cause them extreme pain that might make them bolt or something. Now, just because they have arthritis in their neck doesn't mean you can't ride them. Some of the people think that's the cause of tripping, and it can be the cause of tripping, but they did do a study, and they injected these horses to make like a fake impingement. And I can find the article if anybody's interested. And what they found, what the horses did shorten their stride. They didn't move out as much, but they didn't stumble. So even though they had that pain and all of that, they didn't stumble. So just because your horse has arthritis in his neck doesn't mean that's the cause of it stumbling. It could be, but it might not be. And I've had people tell me their issues with their horse, you know, and that the horse is either tripping or it won't leave home and it won't do this and it won't do that. And they said, and the vet told me it has arthritis in its neck and not to ride it. And I go, yep, I've heard that thousands of times. And they go, what? And I go, yeah. The vet's telling you what they know. So the horse has arthritis in its neck. You said it's tripping and falling down. And so they're thinking, well, he has arthritis in his neck and that's what's making him trip and fall down. So of course that's dangerous. Or the horse won't leave the barn. And they go, yeah, because he's in pain. That's why. And I tell the people, well, your vet's working with the information they have. And they are correct in what you're telling them and then what they're telling you back, because they're not seeing the complete issue. They're not seeing that you're a poor rider and that you're flopping around on their back while the horse is trying to walk down the trail. They don't know that your horse is a space cadet on the trail and you're riding with a loose floppy rein, and your horse never ever keeps his head straight and he's looking around the whole entire time. So of course he would catch his feet and stumble because he's not paying attention to where he's going. He didn't tell the vet that you ride that horse so slow that your horse is falling asleep on his feet because he's bored out of his mind. So the vet only knows what you tell him. He's tripping and falling down, and they test him and they see the arthritis, so there's the cause. But I can tell you many times the arthritis in the neck is not the cause. I've gotten these horses and rehabbed them, and I'm like, they're totally fine. It's the way they were riding them, and that the horse was barn sour. That's why he wouldn't leave the barn. And I take them up and down crazy stuff that they could never do. But you just have to know that we all get arthritis in our neck. You know, many of you out there have arthritis in your neck, but you can still function and you can do a lot of things. So if your horse is tripping again, be aware that he has arthritis in his neck, and injections and things might help, and stretch, of course, do those things for him. But also be aware of your riding, because riding is a big part of it with these gaited horses. You know, they're bred to move, not bred to slowly go down the trail. So that was spook, but that was not bad at all. That's good, he's standing. Alright. Now he's yelling at his friends like, come back, you guys still down there? They're like, we're here, don't act up, we know what she does. Don't do anything. He's like, okay, I'm going to try not to go any faster. Joe, what I'm telling you is, because a lot of times I hear it's a, you know, kind of a death sentence. The horse gets arthritis in his neck, he was tripping and all this stuff. And then they put him down because they think he's super dangerous. And I go, well, you know what? I'm sure he does have arthritis in his neck. Come on. And I think the vet is correct. And we're going to be aware of that. But I also think it's the person riding the horse that can be a big problem. So you kind of see, you know, if a horse has really bad arthritis in his neck, he doesn't want to turn his head side to side, you know, where he would before. You know, he won't even do it for a cookie. And, you know, they can't get their head down to graze or anything. And so then you know it's becoming a big issue. And then if they're tripping, of course, that's it. Okay, we're going to stop and try to get this tree down. Okay, so I kind of moved the tree out of the way, and then there's this tractor dragging up by us. So chose not to get back on. I like to walk anyhow. And that way, if he gets goofy with this, which is fine, but always make sure they're paying attention and not walking too close and they're staying out of your space. And so this gives him a little relief out here, which is fine. Right? He's walking a little fast, so he knows when I wiggle those reins to get out of my space. And then what we're going to do is when we get back here, we're going to go in that arena and gate some. And then she said his canter wasn't so good, so maybe we'll do that too. See how much energy he has once he gets back here. So I'm going to cover a couple other things. So she said he was really bad out there, wouldn't stand still, and you saw he stood still for me. He really wasn't that bad. Now, why is that? Well, one, I'm working him all the time. She probably doesn't get to work him as often as I do, because of course she has to work to pay for the horse. Okay, so that's one, because I've been working him a lot. And when I work him, I always warm him up so I get a lot of energy out, and then I ride him for a long time and work on his gait so I get more energy out. And then I've been tying him up, and I've tied him up to my shed, and now we're tying him up to the trailer, because I guess he didn't stand well at the trailer before. And he stands there for hours. So even though he's attracted to home, his friends are here and all of that, in the back of his mind he might think, I don't know, home doesn't seem so good. It seems much easier out there on the trail. So he might already have an idea of what's going to happen. And so he didn't really rush home that much. That's the benefit of doing all this preparation stuff, is some horses get it. And this is a very smart horse. And training smart horses is much easier. But smart horses outsmart people all the time. So what I'm going to do is try to outsmart him, and when we get back here, I'm going to get on him and start riding. Then we're still going to tie him up to the trailer. Shane's like, what'd she do to you? Did she do what she does to me? They're like, don't go in that arena, that square put. No, don't go in that rectangle. She's going to get you. She's going to wear you out. Oh, and then maybe we'll do some gates. I forgot about the gates. You're trying to make your trail horse into a great trail horse that you can do anything you want with them. They're just like a ranch horse. They take you here, take you there, take you everywhere. And you know, he's my transporter, so I'm just going to go wherever, not where he just wants to go. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to saddle gate maybe once or twice around, and then we're going to go to racking. Okay. So we're going to bring his head down just like we did with the arena before. We're flat walking now, both legs squeeze. Hold the rein so he doesn't bring his head up. There we go. Now he's just a little on the trotty side, so I want a little smoother, so we sped up a little bit more. Okay. And now we're just going to keep this. That's us if the video's catching it. Every once in a while he tries to bring his head up. That's okay. And here he got a little faster, so I'm half halting, breathing. And I just lighten my leg when he gets faster. But again, I keep a light pressure on him just so he knows to keep going. It's a little bouncy, so I know he's step pacing. I just pushed him over a little bit, and he did smooth out. And then I'm just kind of vibrating on the reins a little bit. I don't want his head way down, even though sometimes he's doing that. I just kind of want it neutral, but so here we go. So that's the second time around, so I'm going to add more leg. Now I'm doing this before the canter because we're going to see if it works out for us. But I'm trying to get these muscles a little tired, so he wants to use his other muscles. So these are his beating muscles now. He is wiggling back and forth. His tail's bouncing up and down, so we know we got the correct gait, but every once in a while I get the little bouncy. That's better. So remember, don't stop until they're doing it good. So there his head's just fine, except for when it's looking around. So I'm not going to rest him, I'm just going to go across the diagonal, change our direction, and then slow it back down a little bit, go back down to a saddle gait. Just so you know, because I know a lot of you are going into winter. The arena doesn't wear them out as much as the trail. The trail really works your horse and wears them out. So when you're not going out on trail anymore because of the weather or whatever it is. Got in the arena on a slant, that's going across the diagonal. There he tried to put his head up. Now I'm going to bend him left and hold him and lean back as I go around this turn to support him. And now we're just doing our saddle gait. So when you don't ride the trail, a lot of times the horses have a lot more energy and they behave badly because they have that energy and it's not getting out. So you might have to prepare them more, or just realize, like, even though I just rode him, I think I gotta turn him back out after I'm done riding him and run him a little bit more and get rid of more of that energy. And then, you know, if he was bad, then the next time, you know, do twice as hard before you ride him. But there's nothing like the trails, the terrain, they're seeing different things, and it's just harder work for them. Arenas get very boring for all of us. Oh, but you gotta do what you can. Just thank God you have one if you do. It's very nice to have one. Alright, so we're going to speed up, so we're going to close both our legs, and I'm just putting a little bit more pressure. I'm going to give a little kiss. Now, he sped up a little. Not very much, which is good because that tells me he's getting tired. I'm straightening him, his hind quarters going to the right. Okay, so I haven't cantered him. I don't know how this is going to go. Might not go well at all. I don't know if he knows both his leads. He can do it when he's loose, but that doesn't mean he can do it under saddle. And we're going to try and keep him in a circle if possible. So I'm going to slow him down. Good boy. So we're not going to stop. So my cues for canter, tells you 1,000 times, is half alt, shift my way to the outside leg. So let's try and see what happens. So squeeze and relax on the rein. That's my half alt, shift my way to the right. Now I'm going to ask for the right leg. Canter. Canter. Oh, very nice. So I'm keeping his head down because if it comes up, he's going to go lateral, and that'll take him more towards his gait. Now he's falling in and out of it. That's okay. He's trying. So when they fall in and out of it, I kind of pump to try to get him back in my rhythm. Walk. Good boy. Now we're going to walk around, and then we're going to try it again. Go to the left. His canter was very smooth. He's just kind of falling in and out of it, but I just rode him on the trail and in the range, so he's freaking tired. He's like, I'm tired. But I bet you he's going to open the gate really well when we try to leave because he wants to get out of here. Okay. So I give them those cues so the canter's not all of a sudden then kicked in the side and they just run, because when they just run because you scared them, they don't use any specific legs, they just run. So you're trying to get them to prepare and make it nice and pleasant so they have time and they know what to do with their legs. So here we go. So we're going to half halt, shift my way to the outside, to the right leg, and I'm going to say the word canter. Canter. Now I pumped a little bit. And I have contact. I'm not throwing them away. Oh, that's pretty good. So walk. I like to use words, but I use the same words so they can learn them. And let's do a turn on the haunches, because he does the turn on the forehands really well. You don't need practice with those. So again, when you're trying to canter and they can do those lateral gaits, you want to keep their head down a little bit if possible, because if they get that head out, they're going to go lateral and they probably won't get their lead, or if they do, they'll probably cross canter, or they'll just keep like doing a saddle gait around, because that's what they're framed up for. So when we do the canter, until I make sure they're getting it all the time, I like to keep their head down a little bit And then once we got it and they're cantering well, I will let them bring it up some, especially if you want that rocking horse canter, because if you elevate it a little bit, they usually get more lift than if you're tucking their head way down. Okay, here we go. Shift the weight. Oops. So half halt, shift the weight to the outside, left leg, canter. Now this way it's a little rougher. Not surprised. I would have been surprised if it was good. Walk. Oh boy. So, just like everything with him, the right's not as good. That's okay. So going across the center of the arena on a lead that's not so good is very difficult for him, and the footing gets really deep there. So I'm just trying to make it easy for him because this is the first day cantering, but he can canter on both leads, so this is great. So half halt, shift my weight, left leg, canter. I'm pumping. My left leg's still on him because he wasn't cantering. There we go. Now we're right here, so we'll see what happens. But the walls don't support. There's no walls here. So we're kind of half cantering, like a gate elope. Oh boy. Walk. So I use the words. I don't know if I finished saying why I use words. Like walk, gait, or canter. So if something happens with my reins, they bust, they know the words. I use the canter word on the ground when I'm cantering them in the round pen or on the lunge line, so they understand the words, so that when I get up here, even if they don't know the cues for canter, it helps them make the association. Alright, so what's next? Let's open that gate, go out of the arena. So he did very well. He didn't come in here and have any hissy fits or meltdowns. He didn't come in and kick out. He's like, I got it. This lady likes me to work, and I'm just going to shut up and do my job, and hopefully she'll give me a paycheck. Okay, so let's pull it in. Oh, now he went a little too far, and I just caught him with my right leg. That's when he kind of threw his head up, because I pushed him over. I was like, no, 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 where are you going? Okay, now we're going to go in. And I always want them good at shutting the gate, so I'm always going to shut it. Now he moved away again. And he's like, oh my goodness, she saw me all the time, even though I did good with everything else. And I go, yeah, that's right. But you got to do it good all the time, not just once in a while. So turn to the right, because that's his bad direction. So always turn this horse to the right. So this right is his good direction. Alright, so that's it. So all I'm going to do next is just tie him up to my trailer for an hour or so. Alright, hope that helps. That was a lot of information if you watch the whole thing.